You're watching Training Camp with Adam Marburger, exclusively on CBT News.
Welcome to another episode of Training Camp exclusively on CBT News. I'm your host, Adam Marburger. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a black belt in automotive. This show is designed to help automotive professionals to grow personally, professionally, and to ultimately receive their rank of black belt. Today's show is going to be action-packed. We've got a thought leader in the industry. We've got somebody here that is a true servant leader that truly loves automotive. We're here with my brother, Chad Staples from Elevation Dealer Services. Thank you for coming, my brother.
Thanks for having me.
We hung out a couple weeks ago. Last time I checked, I think we ordered a $1,000 steak at 4-6's Steakhouse. Is that really what it was?
The Wagyu Tomahawk from Wyoming. It was phenomenal.
What an experience that was. And AMAD was awesome.
It was a great time.
What a great conference.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for taking the time to come here. And, on the surface level, you and I are competitors. We have competing agencies. So why in the world would we be friends? And why in the world would we really try to help each other, if you don't mind me just throwing that at you?
So I think the way we live our lives, who we are, our stories, when we shared our stories with each other, we connected day one because we've been through a lot of similar circumstances. We always swore to be the leader we wish we had in the space. And so we always put value first and we live by abundance mindsets. We're always looking to give something to people and help them better their lives across the board.
Yeah, I just noticed even dealers competing with other dealers and other entrepreneurs fighting with other entrepreneurs. I think there's enough for us all. And I think if you truly want others to win, what I've noticed is, a handful of years ago, when I truly desired others to win, I started winning at a higher level. Has that happened for you as well?
100%. I do it with my team, I do it with other competitors, and I try to collaborate because at the end of the day, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I would rather learn from you and us all win together and be friends and share life.
Yeah. Let's talk about Chad Staples for a minute. So you've got a long career, brother. You got a resume, baby. So from retail to the admin space to starting your own company, you're wildly successful now. So take us down that path. How'd you get into the F&I side? Tell us a little bit about retail and how'd you get into the space?
Yeah, so in 2009, my best friend from college, Tyler Yates from Yates Pontiac Buick GMC, he had talked me into selling cars. My first week in the business, I was trained by Tom Stuker on how to set appointments and how to connect with customers.
Good guy to be trained by.
It was great. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so from there, I spent a number of years in retail. When I met my wife, I had left retail because we're open on Sundays in Arizona, and I wanted a little bit of family time. And so what had occurred was I applied for a job with a company called Intellex. That was the original GPS. It was called Skylink at the time.
Okay.
Fast forward a handful of years later, we went through multiple acquisitions. It became Kahoo, and now what's today LoJack.
Okay, yeah.
I became one of the top salespeople in the company. I trained everybody that would be hired on and just kind of show them the day in the life. I really wanted to give back to others. They didn't pay me for that, but I enjoyed doing it. From there, I got recruited by Easy Care, which is actually right down the street from here. So it was kind of a blast from the past coming down the road. And I was a regional director. I had a team of 5 originally, and then they gave me an additional team in Texas. So I ran 10 people with the warranty company. We did very, very well. I was the youngest in my position, and I was just a student of the game. I had great relationships with the reinsurance folks, and I would just pick their brain and ask questions because at the end of the day, I wanted to learn to become an expert in that area just to sharpen my skills to add more value to clients. Yeah. From there, as a matter of fact, I got recruited by a big dealer group out of Arizona called Lifted Trucks. I was a corporate director with them, and I helped them scale. They ultimately sold to a private equity, and from there, I realized that chapter for me was done because my ceiling was there.
Yeah.
And I got recruited by a large agency out of San Diego called All Lines Dealer Services, and I was the vice president of sales, and I helped him scale his company. I introduced him to a buyer, and ultimately the transaction closed at the end of 2022. So at the beginning of 23, we parted ways, and I started Elevation Dealer Services.
And look at you now, brother, all over the place making things happen. So you're out, you're in a lot of stores, you've got a lot of clients, you work with a lot of F&I people, and I love this question. What's the difference between average F&I to an absolute monster in F&I? What's the difference?
It's being faithful in all the little things. Being excellent in your craft in every single detail of the transaction, building a relationship with the customer, and doing what's a win-win. I've been through a lot of counseling in my life, and I've been married for 11 years with my wife, Alexi, and I'm very fortunate for that because that same principle has transcended into the business side. And so the way I treat people is the way that they should be treating their customers, putting them first, building value in the transaction, looking at the budgets, and building that into a value proposition for the customer to sell more products and protect them at the end of the day.
I love that. What do you see as an area that's easy to identify where dealers are falling short in their F&I operations?
I will tell you right now on the wealth management side on the back end. A lot of guys may understand slightly what reinsurance is. They know it's this insurance company thing that's over here. But just like anything else, clarity is a wonderful thing. If you don't have clarity into your own personal life budget, it's going to be out of whack. And so when it comes to your reinsurance company and claim severity, meaning the average cost of what a fix is in the service drive with inflation on parts and labor more currently, how is that deeply impacting that position? And do you have a wealth manager that's making you 11, 12, 14% on your money versus 4.5% with a black box and a large administration company?
Yeah, amen. You know, how often, speaking of reinsurance, how often should a dealer increase their reserves in their position?
Well, that's a great question. So on average, it really depends on what their overall loss ratio is. Yep. But I would say it needs to be looked at every quarter, because at the end of the day, you don't know what you're doing unless you're really getting granular in the details and having a good steward, somebody that's there being proactive with a solution for you. So you don't have to have like a set, hey, we're going to do it once a year, but you really need to look at where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish. From there, that's how you can set in the right standard operating procedure and a cadence to following up with that on a quarterly basis.
That's on it. So do you think, you know, in 2025, should all dealers be in some type of profit participation?
100%.
Yeah, because the way I look at it, I'm going to, dealers out there, for those that are not in a profit share with your warranty provider, at the end of the day, somebody's keeping the money, right? You know, there's, in some of these insurance companies, there's a little like corporate layers, like these big box providers, you know, not going to name drop them, but these big box providers, they got corporate layers of yachts and jets, and guess who pays for that? Car dealers.
The dealer
pay for
does.
that, right? So understanding what you're actually getting into and having the right people to manage your position is critical in today's market. And so let me ask you, what do you think the minimum requirement is today for a dealer to look at reinsurance? So for the dealer that's not reinsurance, that probably needs to be in reinsurance, that's interested in it, what's that contract count, in your opinion, need to be?
I think it just needs to be $250,000 a year in premium. So when you look at it, that's probably 35, 40 contracts a month. So even a small store can do it.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any products that you don't recommend reinsuring right now in today's market?
No, because at the end of the day, like you said, if you, the dealer, are not reinsuring it, guess what? Somebody else is.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you, what's next? What's the next? What does F&I look like? And you know, there's all these variables. The AI, we talk about digital. We've been talking about digital retailing forever, right? So you got the digital retail, and you got tariff conversations, inflation conversations. Rates did come down a little bit. Got a little rate reduction. Yep. But what does F&I look like, you know, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, in your opinion? Where do you see it going?
Well, I think in order to look where it's going, we have to see where we've been. And COVID had really diminished the relationship with the customer, because we were slapping at a dealer markup on customers and really looking at the short term versus the long-term customer relationship cycle. And really what we have to see is we have to get back to being people, connecting with these customers and building a genuine relationship again. And this all correlates to, if you look at the Hague reports over the last year, you can see that new and used car profitability is very volatile over the last 10 years. But F&I has been on the up and up at about $2,500 a copy on the publicly traded groups nationally. So what does that mean? That's an area to focus on at the dealer level.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to ask you a final question. I know you're a personal development junkie like me.
Yes.
What is a book that you've recently read that changed your life that you would recommend everybody immediately?
Ooh, I would say there's a couple. Elevate Your Excellence by Dave Anderson is phenomenal. He's a friend of mine. Outside of that, I would say one of the more profound books that could be a starting point for people would be The Four Agreements. Okay. Just great because book. It's the golden rule. And you can see what's going on in our world today. People are not treating people the way they want to be treated. Yeah. They're very selfish, they're very self-focused, and at the end of the day, that's a mighty small business to be in.
Amen. Well, Chad, I appreciate our friendship, first of all.
Likewise.
You know, it's nice to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody that understands what I'm going through. We give each other, you know, we went to dinner with dealers together.
Right,
you know, who does that, right? So I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate what you do for our industry.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming out. Make sure you come back, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Training Camp exclusively on CBT News. Remember this, if nothing changes, nothing changes. You must be willing to invest in yourself. Training's not something that you did, it's something that you do, and you must do it on a never-ending basis. Here's my final thought. Fights aren't won in the cage, they're not won in the ring. Fights are won in training camp. Let's get to work.
Thanks for watching Training Camp with Adam Marburger, exclusively on CBT News.